This is how my script set me free developed from an idea to a second draft, and how I found working with my editor, redrafting and meeting deadlines to be beneficial in the process of becoming a better screenwriter. The idea came to me in September of 2019 due to the pressure and stress I felt being closeted in a toxic home. Daryl, the main character who wants to be free of others' expectations, is a reflection of what I felt at the time and still feel to this day. Feedback in the first semester became important as characters and backstories were established and story beats came into place. Planning out 30 story beats, I had my first meeting with my editor. I was advised on how to combine beats together to make room for more dialogue between Craig, Daryl, and his mother. Apart from typos, my editor seemed positive about my story. Following my teacher's advice, I tried making the opening image as introductory to the main character as possible. I first intercut dialogue from the mother with Daryl and Craig beating up a freshman, which I ended up cutting with the first draft, as the scene should focus on Daryl. Characters had to be presented along with their needs, and Daryl should end up being better off than he was in the beginning, making it important to show enough of his friendship with Vic. My editor's feedback for the first act was positive. One point that has improved since is not underlining a word for emphasis, which I used to overdo a lot. I was told to cut out all swearing, which was challenging, having imagined strong language in my head. My action also had to be clear and to the point, along with cutting any filler lines. Daryl becomes confident and better friends with Vic. Her stays coming into the midpoint. The second act ends in a low point, being thrown out of his home and feeling like the world has collapsed around him. A point of no return. New feedback taught me how to make dialogue and action even more succinct and show Daryl's father not understanding him but accepting him in the end. I ended up changing this with the first draft to him being more angry towards Daryl than I had initially planned. I was past the page limit, but my editor told me to stick with it, and my teacher told me to pace out the ending as it felt short compared to the rest of the script, and to really milk Daryl's final speech as the big emotional ending. He also told me to cut out or alter Daryl's father's redemption to Daryl seeking out his father instead. First draft finished, I met with my teacher and editor. I was advised to cut out the mother and teacher who didn't bring anything to the story, and keep the principal who was interesting, who I worked to improve to make sure he was bringing as much to the script in his few lines as possible. I needed to cut out all the camera work, which I was not aware of, only leaving fade in for the first scene and fade out for the final page. I really needed to show Daryl's friendship with Vic and Craig, how Craig unintentionally gets pushed away, focusing on Craig's bad life at home, making his death more impactful. Daryl should also have a moment after Craig's death where he wants to go back to his past life before realizing he's not that person anymore. This is what I've really been focusing on for my second draft. I was nervous to work with an editor, expecting more criticism than feedback, but was surprised to find the feedback not only fair but helpful. My editor picked up on scenes I was particularly interested in and appeared to be just as excited as me to make the script reach its full potential. I committed to the deadlines, and it was comforting to be able to ask them for advice about anything at any time. I listened to and applied all the feedback I received, critically making changes without erasing the story's original message. The area of writing that has improved most, not only for this assessment but across the year, is dialogue. The dialogue in my first draft was very on the nose, long and awkward, taking away from the rest of the script. Having this pointed out by my peers and editor helped develop my dialogue to be more concise and the action to speak more than the characters. Writing everything to the point is still a struggle, but has shown to be easier to notice, and as I keep redrafting, the whole script, especially the dialogue, starts sounding natural in my head. I found redrafting to be very effective in improving all elements of my story. Considering the feedback I received every week made it easier to not get attached to one draft, and instead acknowledge and reflect on what didn't work as well as I had hoped. I struggle with starting and finishing a project I know I will have to put significant work into, especially if a deadline is set far into the future. I therefore found the weekly draft deadlines and meetings to be very helpful. Email reminders and being committed to the process made it difficult to put off continuing to write the script. The main issue I've overcome is getting attached to my drafts. By reflecting on my work, I've seen the importance of reading a draft from a new critical perspective. Through reflection, I've also become more open to criticism, seeing value in every piece of feedback, and coming to terms with the fact that no one writes a good script for their first draft. It takes hard work and constantly reshaping the story to end up with something you're proud of. Down the line, I've hopefully developed my skills enough to be able to call myself a screenwriter.